Hello and welcome to another episode of Grit and Glamour, an interview series featuring honest conversations with fashion change makers on what it really takes to lead and succeed. I'm your host, Ruby Veridiano, and on today's show, I not only have one, but two fabulous guests by the name of Mariel Jumpa and Lizeth Soto Rivas, the co-founders of female-run communications agency focused on sustainability with diversity and inclusion in mind. I'm so pleased to share that both of my guests also have roots in the sustainable fashion world, with Mariel Jumpa being the founder of Slow Fashion World, an online and offline community of global fashion change makers, and Liz being the founder of Bohetnica, a fashion brand working directly with Mexican artisans. Both women are powerhouse Latina women living in Europe. And on today's conversation, we're going to be talking about the role that storytellers play in the sustainability movement, but also how their backgrounds as Latinas inspire the way they tell their stories. So without further ado, let's bring on both Mariel and Liz. Hello, ladies. Hi, Mariel.
Hello. Hi, Ruby. Nice to see you.
So this is my first time having Mariel, let's start with you. Can you tell us where you're from and where you're broadcasting in from?
Yeah, hello everybody. I'm from Peru and I'm broadcasting from Uppsala, Sweden.
Okay, and Liz, where are you?
Hi, I'm in Berlin, in Germany, and I'm originally from Mexico.
I love that we're all in sync today. We accidentally came with matching outfits. We have matching backgrounds. We are together here. So, Mariel and Liz, I'm so excited to have you both. And I want to start by telling a little bit about your stories. Mariel, maybe you could start, or whoever can start really, about, I want to know what it's like for you to be coming from Latin America and living in Europe, and how this shapes your lens as storytellers.
Well, as a Peruvian living in Europe, the role that I feel I want to serve is and be proud of is to act as an ambassador of the Latin America culture, but also to amplify the voices of people, change makers, and through the power of the storytelling and building communities, we want to join them and make them work together. So I feel like as a migrant in Europe as well, my role is to be like a cross-cultural connector and a business strategist. So we can help businesses and we can help change makers to reach their goals and still make an impact in the world. So I foresee this kind of world, Ruby, a world that business and lifestyle can prioritize people and planet, but at the same time we can grow and have a diversity development. So that's kind of what I'm working with as Latin American migrant in Europe.
Fantastic. And now, Liz.
Well, I don't know if I'm correct, but I think that Latinos are quite creative by nature. But regardless of being Latina or not, I think that immigration is a very important factor when it comes to, let's say, tell stories or to be a storyteller. So I have to say that this is my third emigration. I previously lived in the US. So I believe that the ability to see things from a different angle, that makes you understand differently, like the different cultures. So, and it makes you adapt to changes, increases that creativity, the ability to create or to convince. And I think like leaving your comfort zone always helps you a lot to have and understand the different perspectives of the world that is around us.
Yes, I love that, Liz, because I think that's also what we all three have in common, being, I guess, folks who have moved to different parts of the world and having to adapt to different cultures. And you're right. Like, I think that the empathy that we build also as storytellers, because we're out of our comfort zone, really understanding the vulnerability of what it takes also to learn a new language, to learn a new culture. These are viewpoints that are very necessary in telling very humanized stories, especially with like such a polarized world that we're living in. We really want to bring the humanity back. So I think that I love that you both shared your kind of intention in the storytelling. So you're both, another thing we all have in common is our priority for sustainability and social change. What led you to the sustainability movement, and what do you feel is your role in it?
Okay. I think in my case, the fact of moving to one of the most progressive cities in the world, which is Berlin, made me more aware and exposed to this sustainable way of living or a lifestyle, right? So, of course, in 2016, my husband and I, we founded Boetnica, with the clothing brand, I already knew that we had this mission with sustainability. But I think it was until 2017 actually that I met Mariel via Instagram. And it was because both had the interest in attending what it was in that time Ethical Fashion Week. Now it's Neonit here in Berlin. And I think that's the reason why I started, or like I began to immerse myself more in and to be more committed with activities in slow fashion world. And that's exactly how I joined slow fashion world.
Yes. Okay. And Mariel, tell us about your journey.
Yeah, well, my journey, it started with my former job. I was before a flight attendant, so I traveled around Latin America so much for the past 5 years, from 2005 to 2010. I felt like I needed to connect the dots between traveling while making an impact as a citizen as well. So during my travels, while I enjoy exploring and connecting with artisans and creators, I was feeling there was something missing. And that was the way we can communicate their amazing work and their stories behind these labels. So I connected the dots and I said, hey, this is where my journey should start. I should like connect these people with a potential audience and share their stories to the world. And that was why I founded, when I moved to Europe during 2010 and studied an international marketing program in Sweden, I started to think, okay, now that I'm also building a connection in Sweden, which is one of the countries where they have like sustainability at its core, especially in fashion and textile, I said, let's do this and join forces and build both networks and organize them to make it in the slow fashion world a global community for action. So for me, choosing fashion as a vehicle for transformation was very important because it is an industry that can inspire and at the same time raise awareness about the cultural, social, and environmental aspects. So this is also why I started sustainability through the fashion vehicle. And I also noticed the eagerness to collaborate and to make transformation together. So through that community, I not also led by people doing action, but I also learned a lot, research a lot, and started to taking action together because the philosophy there is co-creation, collaboration, and building communities for action.
Yes, fantastic. Thank you both so much, and for your work and for your dedication to the movement and in the different ways that you are creating new things that allow people to be part of it as well. Now let's talk about storytelling and who is considered a storyteller. Because storytelling, right, is a pretty broad term. Sometimes it's still quite new, sometimes in the business world, to talk about being a storyteller. So can you clarify, what are the roles of the different storytellers and why are they important to sustainability?
I'm talking about myself right now. I think a storyteller is someone who likes to communicate, like, however, not excessively. And I always like to plan what to say and how. So I think that's a very important thing in storytelling. But if you think, storytelling actually can be something that comes from our grandparents or our moms when they used to tell us these stories, for example, and us as kids who were just like paying attention to them, right? So I think it's very important to create this truthfulness first to generate impact through a good example. So that's a very important thing in storytelling, and with that veracity that you already create or like generate as a person, as a storyteller, people start believing in you. I mean, you don't have to be, that's what I always say, you don't have to be a very famous influencer or, have 1,000 of followers, but you can actually, with your actions, you can start telling stories in your circle of friends, and they start to respect you or admire you, and they follow you. So those, I think, are big changes that we can all offer to the world. I guess by setting a good example. So that's for me, I think, what a storyteller is. No, in let's say not really complicated words. It's more like my words.
What kind of professions do you think are under the category of storytellers? Because I'm a writer, so I feel like writing is part of storytelling, but what other professions fall under it? Is it like maybe graphic design, just from your perspective?
I think everybody can be a storyteller. I mean, if you I think you are born with it, like if you have, I think creativity is the big thing, no? When you're telling stories. In my case, for example, I studied communications and photography as well. So as you can see, it's a little bit related, the way to communicate. And I also was learning some journalism. So I guess writers, journalists, photographers as well, because you're telling something with images. So I think that's like those are the professions probably, or communications, or as you mentioned, also graphic designs and marketing for sure.
Yeah, definitely. In my case, I believe that a storyteller can become also part of come from diverse backgrounds. It can be also someone working in dance that want to express through a different way and showing the audience a story through the body expression. It can be like music, it can be like through poetry. So it's those sets of different skills that they can use as a narrative to tell stories that makes that audience connect and empathize with that certain message that you want to show. But I believe when I started to connect with people with the storytelling at their heart, that they have a thing in common, and it's the power to feel and to know that the art of creating stories for impact. It feels like they have this ignite, this fire that they want to share those stories and amplify it. So that's something that I believe that the storytellers have, and that you can detect that it can be a guideline and someone that you want to work with in order to amplify your story.
Absolutely. So that's a great point, Mariel. It's also about like making sure that there's an emotional and a human connection to the storytelling. And a lot of artists really bring that humanity in us because it's very inspiring. Which leads me actually to my next question. There's a lot of artists out there from different disciplines who only think about their artwork as existing in traditional spaces, right? Like say there's a writer, maybe she only thinks of herself as a novelist, or there is a painter and she only thinks of herself as a painter in a gallery. Is there room for these types of artists to become storytellers in business? And if so, how can they do that?
But yeah, I think everybody can be a storyteller, as we were saying. No, I think the main thing is the ability to persuade and engage people through their emotions. That's the main thing, as Mariel was just mentioning. So there's many ways of persuade something, but I think like in let's say a little bit in marketing, or when you're trying to sell an idea or something, there's some conventional ways, like using the rhetoric, for example, like the typical business meeting where the executive has a PowerPoint and they're using statistics and facts and all these things. But the storytelling is very powerful. So I think people can use, as you were mentioning, Ruby, like if they're artists, like they can use these to connect it with an emotion, like an idea with an emotion. That's the main thing. So everybody can be a storyteller, definitely.
Yeah, and you're both professionals in the field of marketing and communications as well. So Liz, even though you have your fashion brand, you're also the person leading the stories and the communications for your fashion brand. Am I correct? Yeah. Yes. So in your point of view, what are some of the storytelling skills, like specific skills that are in demand in the communications and marketing field right now?
Mariel? Maybe
sure. I mean, right now as marketers, for us is to engage, as Liz mentioned before, is the emotions, and being authentic is vital, not only as impact marketers, but also every person that wants to develop a business with impact. Is about engaging those emotions and find out with your values what kind of skills are required so we can add value. So that's like the key journey for us in order to tell a story, in order to build that roadmap to a storyteller. But once you find your sweet spot, because everybody of us is different. I mean, we gather a team of marketers and communication advisors in Creatives for Impact, for instance. All of us have communication, PR, and marketing in our hearts. But still, I found their sweet spot, and we found each other a way to complement. So once you find that sweet spot, which is your expertise, your specific value and personality, then you can develop that value and connect it with your customers, connect it with potential projects, and that will determine what outcome will come. And especially if you want to work in sustainability, it has to be aligned. It has to have kind of the similar roadmap, so both can understand that, hey, we're leading into value and we have to communicate authentic, genuinely, and with transparency. So that's really important for marketers nowadays. We cannot just share the message. We need to check, we need to align, and then we need to build a strategy to take that story to the next level. And that next level is that the audience resonates and takes action.
Yeah. Now I want to be clear with my audience, because I know that sometimes when we hear the word marketing has traditionally been a little bit of a dirty word, but it doesn't have to be, because if you are someone who is passionate about a service or a product that actually brings something good into the world, why not tell that story and amplify it so that you can be of service to a bigger amount of people? So I just want to clarify that for the audience, because I think traditionally people have thought about marketing as something that is a little bit, why do I need to sell something? But really it's about just making sure that people know that your services exist, and that if you're being a force for good, it's important that people know who you are and what you do so that you can add value to the world. We're going to talk in a little bit about the special announcement that we have about your agency, Creatives for Impact. But just really quickly, Mariel, just to go back to the sweet spot that you were talking about, what are some examples of this different specialties that your team at Creatives for Impact has? Because even though the whole team has, as you mentioned, communications and marketing expertise, they also have their special niche talents. So give me some examples of those niche talents.
Yeah, first of all, the amazing team that is Creatives for Impact are part of the Slow Fashion World. This is the amazing thing. We connected first through digital media and started to see what potential areas we wanted to boost in our lives and to the world. So the first thing I noticed about the team was the proactivity about learning stuff. They wanted to combine their skills and continue learning. So, and that is what we join as a team, because we have an aligned mission and a aligned vision, but at the same time, we are all eager to continue learning from each other. The second one is being able to grow, but also take challenges. Each of the ladies that are there, they know that we're going to push the buttons, because right now, sustainability needs the tools to communicate effective so we can resonate to people. And we as marketers, as you say, now we should be the right partners for every business, because we will help them to communicate and to highlight that message to the world. And third of all, they have to be ready to face the world, because right now in business or in everything you decide to work with, you are the face of your project. You need to go out there and show your capabilities and how you can add value to society, so you can connect also bridges from your culture or from the field that you're interested in. And never, never, never be ashamed of asking. So the team is open, is transparent, and they're not afraid to do that, and especially give feedback. Because, Ruby, we are evolving in here. We're all learning. So it's important to understand that sustainability has not an answer. It's not a concrete result. We are growing with it, and we need to find that common solution. And one thing that we will talk later is about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. That could be like a little way that we can get a common ground between every business. But as for now, the team has aligned the mission and the vision and the manifesto. It's so important as companies to build manifestos, Ruby, right now, especially in the way you want to communicate. So I do believe that the team is amazing, and at the same time is committed to grow and to share value within their skills.
So let's talk then about the Creatives for Impact launch. Congratulations on launching this agency. Tell us about it. And again, just to go back to that question, what are some of the special talents that the team has and can offer?
Great. So creative for Liz, you have to tell that because it was you actually who got the idea.
Well. Okay. So I'm gonna tell a little bit about what actually, no, like what we do, what it's all about, no. So Creative for Impact is, well, it's an agency, as we were saying, that it's built by all these creative people. We are we're 9 women working behind, and of course in marketing, business strategy, finance also, and project management. And we're so proud actually to have you, Ruby, on board as a sustainable, yes, a storyteller and advisor in our team. So that's also great.
That was our surprise announcement, is that I get to be a part of
yeah, we're so happy.
Woo! Yes, and well, so we have all this experience in sustainability and working in retail and fintech and fashion, textile, banking, solar energy projects. So it's amazing. We also we use the power of effective communication through storytelling, as we were saying, impact marketing and business strategy to help other brands, or to help brands and entrepreneurs and creatives as well, to grow their business and projects while making an impact. This is very, very important, to make an impact in the world through measurable actions and sustainability, no? So that's basically what we're doing. So we're so excited. We're happy. I mean, you were saying before, Ruby, that people have this bad idea about marketing, but why not to change this marketing in a way, in a good way, to do a good impact and to bring this sustainability word for everybody, and to have, like, to change or to set this in the people's minds, no?
Yeah. And I think also right now there's a lot of brands who don't know how to communicate in a way that is authentic and true, because there's so many who are wanting to jump on the sustainability and social impact bandwagon, but they may not know how to do it in a way that is actually in alignment with the business strategies, as well as, there are a lot of words that are very pretty, right? But if the words are not matched by real action, and if those actions are not informed by folks who know what it's like to be on the ground, and who know and have a deep understanding of communities, then sometimes those action steps may not have the same, it might not execute in the same way. So I think that it's really important to have people like yourselves to be in those decision-making tables and helping to steer companies in the right direction. So congratulations again on the launch. I know that, for example, you both have your own different specialties. Mariel, yours being in digital community activations. And then Liz, tell me about your specialty.
Well, I'm also behind the digital communities because here in Berlin, I have a large Facebook group with the Latina community. So I'm also very engaged in digital communities. But of course, my specialization, it's more focused in communications, marketing, digital marketing, and photography. So basically, that's my background. Like I had, a lot of works before in magazines or in like community foundations and a lot of interesting things, but all the time related to communication. That is my specialty, let's say.
Yeah, and
I love that. Yeah,
what because then you have a digital community activation. What does that mean?
Sorry?
I was asking Mariel because her specialty is around digital activation or community activation. I was just wanting her to explain what that means for our audience.
Well, actually, it's a way to engage and generate action through building active communities. This means that each member will look to empower and enable for them to share their message, and show their project or their mission to us. So when building a community, for us, it's important that we amplify the voices, but also we find ways for these individuals or groups to take action. So by activating these communities, we're not only building their profiles to the world, but at the same time, we are aligning to a message or to a mission or to a movement even. You know, for example, with the slow fashion movement, where people talking about quality over quantity, long-term usage, and craftsmanship. So it's important by communities that you serve it based on your values and also passion. What are you passionate about? Then you amplify that with other people and make a collective action. So that is basically why communities are so important nowadays, especially in this world that we're driving towards sustainability agenda.
Yes. And speaking of the sustainability agenda, as I said earlier, there are a lot of businesses who might want to shift in that direction, but there's also dangers of greenwashing. So for as kind of storytelling experts, what would your advice be to companies to make sure that they are not participating in greenwashing, but actually committing to real change?
Okay, well, maybe first I would like to just share a quick quote about greenwashing, because many people probably are not very familiar, or I don't know. Do you think we should say something about it?
Sure.
I have actually a phrase right here that we took from internet, but the greenwashing is a term that is used to refer the practice of spinning a marketing plan that makes it exaggerated and like it claims about environmentally conscious activity. So basically, these let's say like basically these brands that they say that they are sustainable and probably they're not, just to get clients, no? So I think it's a big important. I think it's an important one in business integrity. These key aspects refers to the transparency that a company has. So all must act with honesty, respecting at all the times the basic responsibilities. Let's say in 4 areas, which is human rights, employment, environment, and anti-corruption. So I think those are really important to mention in the greenwashing. And well, also like the companies must have goals that support the communities around them, no? And respect for the environment that physically surrounds the business is essential, I think. And I think another important aspect is that business that want to top to the list of the sustainable companies must always submit activity reports. So
that's really important, talking about reports, but also to add what Liz mentioned, companies and brands must be able to create effective marketing. And so their efforts become really genuine and resonates with the audience. And I could share some of the tips based on the experience we have by working also with the sustainable fashion world and brands. Is let your product speak for itself. It has to really resonate, not only with negative messages, but also transformative and motivational, and also be always transparent. It has to be aligned with your reports. It cannot just be something you want to communicate because it's just a collection or it's packaging plastic free. It has to have and resonate to a whole you could say development. It cannot be just only one area that is sustainable. You need to be integrated to different areas of your business. You gotta communicate effectively. That's why you need agencies like Creative for Impact, and also understand that communication has to be effective and has to reach a specific audience if you're talking about a campaign or a product launch. And last but not least is be consistent. Is be consistent in your reports and your claims. It is not a short-term message. It has to drive value. And when people goes back to that message, they still resonate and say, hey, they have been doing it from a long time ago. It's just like Patagonia. We can go back and say, this is how they've been building their way for sustainability. And it resonates and we believe it. It's just an example, right?
I think you would agree with me, Mariel and Liz, that you can't tell a story for a brand or a product that is not actually doing the right things, right? Like if you're trying to position your brand as, something that's positive, but your supply chain tells otherwise, you cannot tell that story for them. You really have to have some integrity, right?
not only integrity, but like companies and consultants and everybody, even students that wants to study about a company and doing a thesis. It's important that you have built tools and resources to assess these companies you want to work with, because if it doesn't go with your values, it means that it's not way back. And it's kind of becoming clear with social media exposure as well, what kind of companies are doing well and those that can improve. So here at Creatives for Impact also, we do not ban the doors, we do not close gateways, but instead we want to build opportunities and proposals for these companies to improve and become part of it. Because by taking them off the question, it doesn't work, Ruby. It has to be a collective approach, a joint responsibility where sustainability is embedded at the core. That is so important. Before boycotting, before banning, it's important to say, what can we do together? What is possible without you taking advantage of my work, of my position as a BPOC or as a person that has been rooted to sustainability, and then work together for a long term. Because, it can also be greenwashing if you do that, but it has to be very strategic. And that's why communications, marketing agencies, and storytellers are important, because we are there as strategists indirectly.
Yeah. I love that you say don't boycott right away or don't cancel people right away, because actually if you can open that door, you might be able to sway them in the right direction, but it will take time, right? Like not every brand is going to get it right the first time. I think the most important thing, as you said, is to be able to be transparent about your process, right? So maybe you can't do all 10 things on your list in 1 year. That might not be possible, but you can say, hey, here's our plan. We're going to do this in year 1. And by year 5, we hope to do this. And by year 10, this is what we hope to achieve together. But it's about making sure that you are opening the doorways and keeping that line open so that you can influence businesses to go in the right direction. So that's really important that you say that.
Yeah, and keeping in mind also that the people is being or is transforming this way of thinking, and they're becoming more demanding. Like people now are choosing better options. So I mean, if for the companies or that, like they have to be aware that they have to start switching to a more sustainable way. I mean, as you said, like it's impossible to be probably, or not impossible, but maybe it's a little bit hard to be 100% sustainable. But I mean, you can start little by little. I mean, switching some options. So that's exactly what we want to help companies or people to build.
Yeah, and that's by building assessment, tracking back your supply chain, tracking back your operations, and find out where the pains are, where the benefits are, and then try to find a common ground with timelines, strategy, so you can communicate sustainability. That's the way to go.
So you obviously already have Slow Fashion World as an agency, and you built out Creatives for Impact so that you could serve other sectors. What are some of the sectors that Creatives for Impact will be working with?
I mean, what we're trying to do at the first stage is use already our customer clients. As Liz mentioned to you, she has been a consultant in social media strategy. So she works a lot with the solar industry, for example. And there's also Susana Nakatani, who is the co-founder for Slow Fashion World. She works basically with fintech, blockchain technology. As you see, they have been used a lot for transparency and traceability, and also storytelling. Did you know that, Ruby? Like blockchain is also a good way to share stories from your supply chain to the product itself. So that has been also fantastic. Then we got Victoire that has been working also around blockchain and business strategy. We have Dominic, that she's from Argentina. She has been working a lot with communications in fashion, in magazines. I mean, it's so exciting to see that these different girls with different areas have joined together. Last was you, Ruby. We were so excited. I mean, journalism, the power of speaking and inspiring through the words, that's something that we needed to complement. So we're actually honored that you have joined us and that we can work together across industries, not only in fashion, as we say, that is our expertise, but also in creativity industry, and help creators, artists, and also people that want to use these skills to take action and build a valuable action to make a difference. So
Yes.
So I believe that we do have this responsibility and mission. But not last but not least, we are also building this change makers for impact community. So we are inviting agencies, we're inviting media partners and companies to join us and to work together towards the same mission with the framework of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals as a common ground. Yeah.
Yes, fantastic. I was going to just ask that next question about if you can contextualize what the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals are and why is this a priority?
I mean, as we spoke about it, we need to find a common ground where people have aligned goals and feel the power, like, how can we do this together? So the Sustainable Development Goals are becoming this common language around the world and serve as a blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable world and a future. So it is a set of 17 Sustainable Development Goals. These are goals that are structured in 169 targets. So it's not just only this huge 17, like end poverty, partnership for the goals, consumption, conscious production. It is interconnected between each other, and we have the responsibility as companies, citizens, governments to take responsibility, to take action. So it's not solely for the government, it's not solely for businesses, everybody, because at the end, the goal of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals is to leave no one behind. So for us, for Creatives for Impact, for Slow Fashion, it has been a tool for us, a framework for us to find a common ground, to work with projects, with clients, to also connect our mission and our impact, because it is a way to also communicate what kind of impact you are doing in the world through your business or your project. So I really recommend, and I can share a link with your community of how you can apply these United Nations Sustainable Development Goals to your life and to your career and to your business. So yeah, it's basically it. And do you want us to say how do we in Creatives for Impact apply the Sustainable Development Goals?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So one of the Sustainable Development Goals that is for us like a core, you could say, is the number 17, which is revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development. We believe in co-creation, we believe in collaboration, we believe in community, and together we can take action. So everything in this world is interconnected. So we feel that this need of communication has to be effective, has to uplift people to take action. So to reach this goal, we have to build this ecosystem that continuously feels like they have the responsibility to improve their business, to improve the way we're operating. Otherwise, we will not have any planet behind. So that's the way we want to contribute, by helping companies, by helping people to have a clear vision and communicate well. So then we can inspire and engage others to take action.
Thank you, Mariel. And it's a pleasure to be able to join you and the rest of the ladies from all around the world. I think it's so exciting that we're also having a team that is global, that, as Liz mentioned earlier, all of us knowing how to adapt to change, knowing the essence of humanity through, the life outside of the comfort zone, of having to kind of stretch ourselves and figure out too how to live in cross-cultural environments. So I think we all have very unique world perspectives that are all about bridging a lot of cultural differences together and make them all work and celebrate them, instead of highlighting the differences. Really bring them together and seeing how wonderful the tapestry could be if we have diverse thinking, if we have diverse point of views, and really being able to revitalize old models with new ideas. So thank you so much, ladies. The last question I have for you is just helping our audience figure out where they can find you.
We will be, go, Liz.
No, you, please.
No, well, I'm very excited to say that you can follow us, Creatives for Impact, in LinkedIn, in Instagram and Facebook. And thanks to our amazing brand and social media director, Victoria Salom, we will be adding resources, tools. We will be going live with Ruby as well. So stay tuned And I'm so happy that we're working with this and that we're able to offer this power of storytelling with power women in this room.
Yes, thank you both so much. So excited to also have on the website, as you said, a lot of resources, a lot of, you know, free value added tools that you can just offer to people, including blog pieces just to educate people on the issue. So thank you both for your efforts and for your commitment. And again, follow at Creatives for Impact on Instagram and LinkedIn. Thank you both again for being on the show. And for those who have tuned into today's episode, I hope you learned a little something about the power of story and how it can move the sustainability agenda forward. Thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Grit and Glamour. As always, I broadcast on Saturdays. And if this episode was useful or inspired you, please do share with a friend. Here's to all the grit behind the glamour. I'll see you all next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.